Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel Bookalicious, where we talk all things books. I'm super excited for today's video. We are going to be talking about my December TBR, my December hopefuls, and I rarely tend to stick to a TBR because I'm just not good at it, but I really do want to have an ambitious TBR for the final month of 2024 and get a lot of books just off my bookcase, and I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a really good reading month. So let's talk about the books that I'm hoping to read in December. Prompt number one is generator picks, and I had so much fun with this. I used one of those little digital like generator spinning wheels, and I put in like 10 different book titles that were my choice, and the title that ended up winning was Trial of the Sun Queen, which has been in my TBR for months, and I've just never gotten a good chance to get around to reading it, even though I really want to, but I'm just horrible at sticking to my TBR. But this, as far as I know, is basically like an adult version of the Selection series, which I love that series so much, and I think it's just more fantasy, more adult, and that's all I really know about it. That's all I kind of want to know about it, because I like to go into fantasy books just not knowing too much about the plot. But I'm very excited. I haven't seen too many people read this book, so I'm super excited to kind of have my own opinion going into it, and I think it's going to be a really fun read. Prompt number two is a new 2024 release, and I instantly knew which book I wanted to go with. I picked Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and I know we're not in summertime, I know, but I don't care. I'm super excited to read this book. I read Part of Your World. I'm currently reading Yours Truly when I'm filming this video, and I love her writing style. It's just so wholesome and deep and still so funny, and she just has a really good balance of all of these different emotions. And this is the final book in that series with Part of Your World and Yours Truly, so I cannot wait to wrap up this trilogy. And I've heard that people just absolutely love this book. I think it's a lot of people's favorite book in the entire trilogy, so I'm super excited. Prompt number three is Found Family, and I decided to go with Gold, which is the fifth book in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I have not talked about this series in a little while because I took a little break because book 4 was not my favorite book in the series, but I do love the series so much as a whole. It's probably like my favorite series out of the entire year because the first 3 books were 6 stars. Absolutely loved them. Book 4 was just, it was good, but it was a little bit just messy. So I've been like putting off the last 2 books, and these are like really long books. I read them on my Kindle so they go quicker, but these are some thick books. But I want to hop back into this series. I really do want to complete this entire series before 2025, and I'm just excited to get back to these characters because I love them so much. The found family in this book is just so good, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. Prompt number 4 is My Choice, which is like the best prompt ever that a reader could hope for. I very much thanked Past Me for writing that prompt, and I decided to go with Morbidly Yours. I do not know much about this book at all. I can't even remember really like where I first like found out about it because it's not talked about much. But all I know is that it's supposed to be a super duper grumpy sunshine dynamic, and grumpy sunshine is a favorite trope of mine. It's not like my all-time favorite trope, but I still love it very much, and something about it just really just kind of enticed me, and I think it's going to be super fun to go into this romance not knowing like a lot of reviews, not knowing what a lot of people think about it, and I'm very excited to get to this book. Prompt number 5 is a book that's over 300 pages, and I decided to pick 1,000 Boy Kisses. I think it's like 320 pages, something like that. And this is been in my TBR for a long while as well, and I've just heard that it's one of those super emotional YA books. I think it's YA, and I think it's just one of those books that's supposed to make me cry, and I need one of those books. I know some people don't like sad books, and sometimes I'm iffy with them as well, but sometimes I do want a book that's going to make me like really emotional and make me cry, and I feel like this is just the perfect option for that. I don't know much about this book. I don't know much about any of these books, but I just know that this is kind of like one of those books that a lot of people rate really highly, and I'm super excited to just finally see what it's all about. So very happy to have this on my December TBR. Prompt number 6 is a new adult romantasy, and I decided to take the chance and choose Goldfinch, the final book in the Plated Prisoner series, because I do really want to complete this series. And so, this is the perfect prompt for that. And again, really love this series. The first 3 books were just all absolute knockouts, just 6 stars across the board. Book 4 was good. I gave it like a 4.75. It just lacked compared to the other books, but very excited to continue with this series and to see what happens and to see how it ends. And I have not gotten any spoilers, thank God. So very excited to go in very blind into this last book. Prompt number 7 is a book on my Explorer page, which basically means a book that I see pop up on my Instagram Explorer page. And it took me a while because yes, I have a bookstagram and I have like a lot of different book recommendations, but I didn't want to like buy a new book. I wanted to find a book on my Explorer page that I already have either on my physical bookshelf or on my Kindle bookshelf as well. And so I was scrolling for a while. I don't know if I technically cheated with this prompt because maybe I should have just picked the very first book that I saw, which I think was The Hurricane Wars, but I did not have that on my Kindle TBR or my physical TBR, and I just didn't want to buy any new books, but I searched and I searched and I finally found a book that correlates with something that I already own. So I picked The Match by Sarah Adams, and the post that I saw had like a bunch of Sarah Adams books, and it had the When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect, and I already read those, and so I decided to pick The Match. And I was not thrilled with this option because I do love Sarah Adams books. I do. Her books are so wholesome and cute and just breezy and quick. This is super short as well. This is like 290 pages or something. The trope, I don't know like if I'm gonna like it. I think it's insta love. I think it is, and that's just not my favorite trope. It's my least favorite trope. I'm not certain that it is insta love, but I feel like those are the vibes I'm getting. But nevertheless, I'm still excited to pick up this book. It's super short, and I think it's going to still be a cute read. Prompt number 8 is a book that gives me the ick. And honestly, listen, I know it looks bad that I have this book here because I know a lot of people really do like this book. Even people who don't love Tessa Bailey books do enjoy this one. I think it's a lot of people's favorite Tessa Bailey book. And I don't have it here because it genuinely gives me the ick. It's just that I couldn't find a book to really correlate with this prompt. Because I've read a lot of books that give me the ick. I've read the first couple books in the Mortal Instruments series, which definitely gave me the ick with Clary and Jace, and then Haunting Adeline. I think I wrote this prompt in mind for Haunting Adeline. I guess I could have picked Hunting Adeline, but I don't know. But I decided to go with It Happened One Summer because I will say that Tessa Bailey's spice is not my favorite. I'm not like a big spice person, but there are some books that do spice very well that I do love. But Tessa Bailey's spice is just super duper explicit, and just very, just not my favorite thing in the world to read about. And sometimes it does make me cringe and get a little bit of the ick. And so I decided to pick this book with that in mind. But having said that, I'm still so excited to get to this book. It has been on my TBR for like, I want to say maybe like a good 2 years. And it was super popular like 3 to 4 years ago on Book Talk. And I feel like it's finally time for me to read it. So, very excited. Prompt number 9 is an iconic book, and I also need to apologize really quickly if you guys hear like some weird static noise in the background. It's because my window's open, it's very windy, so if you hear like some odd background sound, then that's what that is. So I do apologize for that, but I need my window open because I need that breeze. But anyways, I decided to go with The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. And I mean, I feel like this is such an obvious choice. I mean, there are tons of different iconic books, but I wanted to really focus on an iconic book talk book that I just hadn't gotten a chance to read yet. And The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is just one of those books where, you know, it seems like everybody's read it except me. And I don't know too much about this book. I think all I do know is that like the main character makes a deal with someone who's not a good person, and she basically gets, I think, to live forever, but everyone who she meets will instantly forget who she is. So if she goes into a shop and meets a cashier and leaves and then comes back, I don't think they'll remember who she is. And then I think one day she stumbles into someone who does remember who she is and keeps remembering who she is. I think that's like the main plot of the book. But I don't know much about this. I don't know if there's going to be a happy ending or if it's going to be a really sad ending. I don't even really know what the age rating for this is. I don't know if it's YA or adult but closed door. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if it's like a super heavy focus on a romance. Um, but yeah, I'm super excited to get to this book, and I'm really hoping that I love it because it's one of those books where you do just want to love it. So I'm hoping that it lives up to the hype. Prompt number 10 is a book written by an author that I follow on Bookstagram, and I follow tons of authors, so this could have been like any option really, but I decided why not finish off a series or a duology that I'm beginning in December. So I decided to go with The Enemy by Sarah Adams, which is book 2 in the little duology with the Match book that I'll be reading. And I was like, why not just finish off this little mini romance series? And The Enemy is, of course, enemies to lovers, and that's my favorite prompt. I don't think I've read Sarah Adams do enemies to lovers because the cheat sheet was friends to lovers. When in Rome was kind of just like grumpy sunshine. Practice makes perfect was kind of like a little insta lovey. So I haven't read her do enemies to lovers yet, but we all know that's my favorite prompt. If you've been around on my booktube or if you've followed me on Bookstagram, you would know that is the trope that I hold to the highest regard. I just love that trope. And so I'm very excited to see like how she writes that into the story. And I don't know too much about this book at all, but very excited to get into it. And I'm sure that they're going to make some cameos in the Match, and then I'll be able to read their own little romance story in this book. So very hyped for that. Prompt number 11 is a Lynn Painter book, and this is the last prompt that I used for like all of my online Kindle reads. All the other prompts are going to be for my physical TBR, and I did not own like any more physical Lynn Painter books that I hadn't already read. I could have done a reread of Better Than the Movies, which is just the best Lynn Painter book of all time, but I decided like let's just keep reading new books. I do love rereading books, but I also love to just read new books as well. And so I decided to go with The Love Wager, which is book 2 in the Mr. Wrong Number series. I think you guys might remember me talking about that book in like February. I really did not like that book, but this is a lot shorter than Mr. Wrong Number, and it follows the brother of the main character from Mr. Wrong Number, and I'm excited to just give this one a go. I don't think Lynn Painter's romance books are for me, but then again, she also kind of let me down with Nothing Like the Movies, which was just a little bit of a letdown for me. But I want to give her another chance before the year is over, and I'm excited to see if I will like this book. I'm really hoping that I do. Prompt number 12 is Epic First Line, and I decided to go with The Darkness Within Us. We're only going to be talking about the physical books now, so all of these other prompts that I'm going to be talking about are all correlating to books on my physical TBR, but I'm very excited to get off my bookcase. Not off my bookcase, but just, books that I'm excited to say that I've read on my bookcase. And I decided to go with this book, and it has such a cool first opening sentence. The sentence is, "My husband is taking too long to die." And this author, Trisha Levenseller, she always has the most iconic, morally gray opening sentences in her books. And her books just have the best morally gray main characters. Whether if they're like female or male, they're just so morally gray and interesting to read about. And I'm super excited. This is book 2 in the Shadows Between Us duology. You do not need to read that book first. I think they can both be read as standalones or out of order, but I think it's more fun to just go in order of the series. And I'm very excited. I know that this one has gotten some really fun reviews, and I love a good YA romantasy. They're my favorite, so I have very high expectations for this one. I feel like it could definitely be like a strong 4.75 or 5-star read for me, so very hyped. Prompt number 13 is Enemies to Lovers, and I know doing like a fantasy book for this prompt would be like the most obvious choice. But I decided to go with Pride and Prejudice, and I know it's not like knife to throat enemies to lovers, but regardless, I feel like it's one of the most iconic, dislike to love romance books ever. It's been in my TBR for a good while. If you've watched some of my previous TBR videos, you're probably like, what the heck is this doing on your TBR again? You should have read this book by now. And I agree, I should have done, but I didn't. So here it is again. And I promise I'm going to make this such a priority to read this month. And I'm very excited. Hopefully, I can read it and then watch the movie as well. And I'm super excited to just read this OG Enemies to Lovers. And I think it's going to be a really, really fun time. Prompt number 14 is Creepy, and I decided to go with That's Not My Name. And I've seen this book have a lot of really good reviews on Goodreads, and it's just supposed to be one of those iconic, creepy YA mystery books. I think it's about this girl who gets lost, and then I think she has like a little bit of memory loss. I'm not positive, by the way. We know I'm not good at explaining the summaries of books. But anyways, she stumbles into this stranger who says that he's her dad, and she gets to the car with him, and he's not her dad. And then while all of that's going on, I think her boyfriend is trying to prove his innocence and try and find her because she has just disappeared from the town that they live in. And I'm super excited to read this book. YA mysteries are just some of my favorite things ever. And I've just been loving the mystery thriller genre for like so long now. Since this time last year, I've really been getting into this genre even more. And so I'm very excited to have this on my TBR. Prompt number 15 is a book written by a man, and I do not read a lot of books written by men, not by choice. I know that there's some readers who are like, I don't want to read a book written by a man, which is fine, it's your choice, but that's not like something that I set out to do. It's just that a lot of books that I happen to read are written by women. And so I was going back and forth on which books I would want to read because I don't have like a ton of options. But I decided to go with The Maze Runner by James Dashner. And this is obviously such an iconic book, an iconic dystopian book that was in that really big era where we had The Maze Runner and Divergent and The Hunger Games. And it was just one of those really big phenomenons. I have seen the movie. I saw the movie when I was like super young, and I was really creeped out by just the whole concept because I think that they end up in these tunnels and then the walls close in and then there are these like robot things that come after them. I was terrified as a child watching that movie, but I don't remember like a lot about it. So I'm very excited to read this book. Prompt number 16 is a book with no romance, which breaks my little romantasy loving heart. But regardless, I did find a book that I am very excited to read. I cannot promise that this doesn't have any romance because I haven't read it, and all books kind of tend to have like at least a tiny fraction of like a romantic subplot. But as far as I know, this is predominantly just a mystery thriller, and I decided to go with The Maid, and I do not know much about this book. All I know is that it's kind of like a whodunit and a murder happens, of course. That's all I really know. It's all I want to know because going into mysteries and thrillers without knowing too much about the core center of the plot is the fun of it all. And I'm very excited. Again, there might be a little romantic subplot. I don't know. I'm not going to be upset if there is, but I don't know. So I'll report back to you guys when I do my reading wrap up. But very excited to pick up this book. Prompt number 17 is a Cassandra Clare book, and this is the perfect way to get me back into the Mortal Instruments series. I read book one in summer of last year, and I read the first, not the first, the other two books in the beginning of this year. And it's just one of those series that I do like. I do give the books good ratings. They always tend to get like a 4 or a 4.25 rating from me. It's just one of those series that I'm not like in love with and not like hyped to continue, but it is one of the series that I do want to finish off soon so I can make my way to the Infernal Devices trilogy, which everybody loves, and I totally feel like I'm gonna love that series as well. But I do want to read each series in order. But I decided to, of course, go with book number 4 in this series, City of Fallen Angels, and I'm very excited. I mean, but I am excited. I am. I'm being optimistic, but I am excited to just get back into this series, and I'm getting closer to finishing it off soon, so I am excited for that. Prompt number 18 is a book by a new author, and I kind of took this prompt to mean like an author that I'm new to, basically like an author that I've just not read before, and I decided to go with The Library of Shadows by Rachel Moore. I follow her on Bookstagram, and I'm super excited to read this book. I don't know too much. I think it's kind of like a boarding school. It's like this paranormal romance, I think, and I'm very excited to read this book. The cover is so cute. Normally I don't like people on the covers, but I do like this cover, and I like the idea of a paranormal romance, and I'm just excited to see if I like this author's writing style, and I feel like I will. So very happy to add this to my TBR. Prompt number 19 is a reread, and I could have picked anything for this prompt because, you know, I've read some iconic, incredible books. I've read books this year, but I already would love to reread. But I decided to go with one of my all time favorite books that I have read 2 years ago and skimmed through it many times after I read it. I decided to go with Ignite Me by Tahira Mafi, the third book in the Shatter Me series, arguably the best book in the entire series. And I am over the moon excited for this. I don't think you guys even understand how much I love Aaron Warner. He is my favorite book boyfriend to ever exist. I just love him so much. I love Juliet so much. I love Kenji. I love the whole gang except Adam Kent. I do not like him. But regardless, I'm excited to just go through all of these emotions again, to just see Aaron and Juliet just fall in love, and I'm just very excited to get back to this book. I think it's going to be one of the best rereading experiences of my entire life. So over the moon excited that I was able to get a prompt that allows me to go back into this world. Prompt number 20, the final prompt, is a Karen M. McManus book. And I was kind of happy with this prompt because she writes like really short, fun YA mystery books, and I could have gone with the last book in the One of Us is Lying series, which I do really enjoy that series by her. One of Us is Lying is like one of the very first YA books, one of like the very first like actual YA books that I ever read, and I read that like I think 4 to 5 years ago. and it's just always been one of my favorites. I love it so much. The second book was really good as well. But some of her other books just aren't my favorites. Two Can Keep a Secret and The Cousins, just very quick reads, but I just didn't love those books or the mysteries or the characters. So I don't love her standalone books, but I do own two of her other standalone books, which is You'll Be the Death of Me, and I forgot what the other one is called. I can't remember what the other one is called. I think it's called Nothing More to Tell. But I decided to go with You'll Be the Death of Me, and don't know much about this book. I think it's three different POVs. I think a murder happens. I think it's small town and just a mystery and all that good stuff. So I am excited to just see if I will like this book, give her another chance. But I don't have super high expectations for this book, but that's okay. That's okay. And it's still a good prompt, and I still am going to try and have fun with this book. I love you guys so freaking much. I can't believe that this is the final month of doing these little TBR prompt videos. It's crazy. Please let me know what books you want to read before we are in 2025. And I just love you all so much. I'm going to try and have some really fun shorts and content coming out this month and next year as well. So stay tuned for all of that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. It really does help me out. And I just love you all to the moon and back. And I will see you very soon in my next video. And until then, happy reading.